Hope everybody's doing well and safe, healthy. Thanks for joining us today. It's obviously a way better press conference today than it was on May 15th. And BGSU is grateful for its alumni. And I know you have the statement out there, but BGSU is grateful for its alumni, friends, and fans who have stepped up during this difficult time to ensure that our alma mater is positioned to thrive on the other side of the current COVID-19 crisis. We are inspired by the efforts of the baseball alumni and look forward to continuing to cultivate and reinvigorate all of our BGSU alumni. It's been a wild 2 weeks. All the late night phone calls, all the phone calls have been worth it, and I am pleased that BGSU baseball is back. However, as I told the guys that I've been talking to, the work continues, and we need to continue to build upon this enthusiasm and the momentum. Over 200 plus alumni, friends, and family have committed to this effort, and I thank them from the bottom of my heart. I certainly wish the circumstances were different, but again, I am very thankful and grateful for those that have committed and recommitted to BGSU baseball and Bowling Green State University. We shouldn't take anything for granted, and I told some of the guys we have to continue this momentum, and we will use it as a model for other areas, because whether you're an alumnus of the baseball program or an alumnus of the College of Health and Human Services, College of Business, we need our alumni to give back to BGSU. These are extraordinary times. The university's funding will continue to be threatened. So not only baseball alumni, but every alumni should be given back to BGSU. You should be proud of your alma mater. Understand that the lessons learned in the classroom, in the residence halls, in the dining facilities, and socially with new friends from all walks of life have made us the adults that we are today, and the successes that we are today. We, the alumni of BGSU, and that's including me, need to give back to our alma mater so BGSU can continue to provide a first-class student experience to all of our students. I hope everyone will take inspiration from what this group of baseball alumni have done and let it inspire you to continue to help BGSU in the future. And with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Bob, I'll go first. 18, 19 days ago, could you ever have imagined a scenario that we'd be sitting here discussing the baseball program coming back so quickly?
I knew it had to happen quickly. It couldn't go on very long. Obviously, there's challenges to this. I was concerned whether or not it would become reality, and certainly there was question marks throughout this process. But I also must thank President Rogers for his leadership, his willingness to listen, his willingness to be creative and help find solutions. And President Rogers, myself, Vice President Pam Collin, who oversees the university advancement area, and then the leadership of this baseball alumni group, we worked together and tried to find solutions. And it had to quickly, or it wasn't going to happen. So I am surprised, yes, somewhat, but no, from those first conversations that they were motivated and passionate about it.
The other thing I would ask you, have there been decisions made on the coaching staff and all of that?
Not currently. Obviously this was, and it's still ongoing, the final details of this. And I did talk to Danny Schmitz this morning. Told him we'll talk again later this afternoon, but want to make sure that we, take a look at the entire program, because, we made some concessions on the final number, the $500,000 per year. And so we're looking at every aspect of the baseball program and how we move forward. Obviously, every sports program has taken cuts, so there will still have to be some cuts within the baseball program, and you know, I would look forward to those conversations with Danny later this afternoon.
And the last thing I wanted to ask is the $500,000 number. Obviously, the operating budget, they were around 750,000 before. Is that going to be the case still? Will the university chip in to get to that 750 number, or how will that work?
Yeah, so we were committed already to the 250,000 roughly for scholarships, whether those baseball players, you know, if they chose to stay here at BGSU. So we were already committed to that 250. So the 500,000 is the operational money for the baseball program.
Bob, do you anticipate, how long do you anticipate BGSU baseball alumni having to come up with $500,000 every year?
You know, the guys that I've been talking to, they're committed. They understand that, listen, we all need to, and they were committed prior to this as well, but some of them have increased that giving, but they understand that this is going to be a annual challenge for us. And they feel that this model can work for them. And, you know, when it's proven that it can work, they want to take this model to the other sports teams and say, hey, listen, don't take this for granted. This can happen to you in the future. Who knows what the future holds for us? Obviously, COVID-19 is not over, and we still need to figure out, you know, our financial position moving forward. You know, enrollment will go up and down, and we know that. So there's always going to be challenges in funding a Division I athletic program. So I think they're committed to it on an annual basis, and they understand and appreciate the challenges that we do have running this program.
Can you clarify some things for us? From what I've been told, I guess normal NCAA baseball programs can have up to 11.7 scholarships. From my understanding, BG does not have that amount. What amount do they have? And through this fundraising effort, is there a hope that essentially BG doesn't have to do more with less going into the future?
Correct. You are correct on the 11.7. So the NCAA rules say that a school can provide 11.7 scholarships to a maximum of 27 student athletes on the baseball team. Depending on which year it is, depending on in-state, out-of-state, you know, the baseball program is given a number that they use. And if they recruit more out-of-state, that decreases the equivalency number. So this past year, I think looking at their squad roster, they're at 10.4. But if they recruit more out-of-state kids who cost more, that 10.4 will decline. So that's something that we'll have to continue looking at. Roughly, that's about the $250,000 budget. Obviously, we want to be competitive. We know that Akron brought it back non-scholarship. We know that's not what we want for BGSU. We want to provide a great student-athlete experience. And we want to be competitive. And that's what we talked a lot during this conversation is, listen, we just don't want it just to come back to be, to participate. We want this to be a competitive baseball program. So we'll continue to manage those numbers and work towards even improving those, you know, as long as we have that financial backing from the alumni.
Bob, there's not exactly a playbook for this type of thing. So when these guys started raising money, what was the timeline like for meeting with them? And then what was the dialogue that had to be had to go from the program's cut to it's back in the span of 18 days?
You know, so I don't know the exact timeline, but certainly, you know, calls were made, you know, what's it going to take? What's the number? Obviously, I had to go back and forth with President Rogers. You know, essentially, ideally, it would be in the perfect world to be the 750 that we're currently spending approximately on baseball. You know, and obviously, we in a perfect world, I said, let's endow the entire baseball program, $23 million. Let's go. But we know those are. That's really going to be tough to do. And so realistically, what can we do? Don't want to bring it back just for 1 year. So 5 years, what's that commitment? 750 a year for 5 years, 3.7, and that's where we started. Obviously, we negotiated throughout the process, and we're comfortable with 1.5 over 3 years, and fully expect that we'll continue fundraising for this program and continue moving it and pushing it forward through the future.
You touched on it in the beginning, but what role do you see private capital playing in the future of college sports, particularly at the MAC level, Group of Five level?
It's always been important, and even more so now. No one was expecting the financial crisis as a result of COVID-19, and it is certainly something that we've never seen before. Sure, we've dealt with budget cuts, and we've been able to manage those. However, this is significant. The 27 million deficit that the university is facing. Those are huge challenges, and so whether it's BGSU athletics, whether it's wanting to have programs in student services across campus in some colleges, the need for private giving is greater now than ever. And, I fully believe that our alumni will step up. I think I saw an interview with President Rogers asking all alumni to give back because, the model of higher education has continued to, state funding decreased. The main guys in this effort probably, when they went to school, the university is probably 75% funded by the state of Ohio. And today it's around 20%. And so that model has completely flipped. And so that's the need for private giving and the reason why we need our alumni to step up.
Particularly in the case of baseball, what was the point, the threshold that they reached where you guys as administrators said, okay, maybe this is realistic that the baseball program actually can be saved by this fundraising effort?
It was always that was a great question, and it continued to be the question. We felt comfortable over the last couple of days with the conversations that we're having from the leadership of the group, understanding that, we all have some skin in this game, and we need to be assured that we will work together to ensure that, the revenue is brought in, the private giving is brought in. And I think it was just, gaining that comfort level from numerous conversations with the leadership, myself, President Rogers, and gaining the trust that we're in this together and we want to see it succeed. So I can't give you an exact point in time where we said, all right, let's go. But it was numerous conversations over the last few days. And obviously I know from a time point, you have 35 student athletes waiting to learn whether or not the baseball program's moving forward or not. That's, that probably put the pressure on to make this happen quicker than or sooner than later.
With some of the athletes that have already, agreed to go elsewhere and play baseball, are they welcome to come back? Is that a conversation the eventual coaching staff will have with them, or how's that going to work?
Yes, the coaching staff will have that conversation with them. Our coaching staff have had that conversation with them. They are welcome back. We would love for them to all return, and we'll continue working through that process with all of our student athletes.
Going back to the 27 number of players, there were 34 on this year. Is it 27 players who have partial scholarships, or are you going to knock the number down from 34 to a lower number?
NCAA rules permit you to have 20 of your whatever roster number you have, only 27 can be on scholarship. And they divide the 11.7 divided by those 27, and they're all on partial scholarships.
That's what I thought, but I just wanted to see a number.
And just to clarify, that is baseball is not the only sport program here at BGSU that's not fully funded. Essentially, all of our programs are not fully funded, and that's things that we're working on, and we hope to take this model. There's definitely some alumni in other sports that are that know that their programs need help financially, but we'll try to continue to expand this so it's not just on the backs of the baseball alumni.
Bob, I know this is a moot point now, but many people have asked me, and just in conversations with a lot of the BG baseball alumni, why wasn't the BG baseball program and its alumni granted the same type of fundraising effort that the hockey program got roughly a decade ago to prevent the administration coming down and saying, okay, baseball's cut?
Yeah, so I wasn't here, and you guys can correct me if I don't have the scenario correct, but to my knowledge, hockey was only being discussed to be cut. It was leaked prior to it being cut, and that started the process. So it wasn't officially cut. It was leaked that there were conversations going on, and before they made any decision on the hockey program, they went ahead and with the Bring Back the Glory campaign to save hockey. So with us, again, as I stated in that first press conference on May 15th, there were conversations. It wasn't a public campaign. That can obviously hurt the recruiting of a program if you're out there saying, hey, and we don't want to be threatening. Certainly that's not a way to raise money, is to threaten, hey, we're going to chop your program if you don't give. But we had those conversations. We said we're not fully funded. The program doesn't have a full allotment of scholarships. We need you to support the program, and people that ask the right questions. And I said, quite frankly, we have revenue producing sports that we need for them to be successful. We need football, men's basketball, and hockey to be successful. So we're probably not going to, cut their budgets. We want them to be competitive. We want their budgets to be so that they have the resources to compete and be competitive and draw fans in and draw sponsors and advertisers in. But the sports that, were in jeopardy of cuts were baseball, men's soccer, golf, and the men's cross country program. Obviously, we have to be equitable too. So, they're all facing cuts, but the big cut of, eliminating a program was a difficult decision, difficult conversation to have. But again, you make that decision and you move forward. And while there wasn't a public campaign, there were conversations in the background being had. And even, some of the leadership of this campaign, who stepped up and were given the last few years, they said, quite frankly, I didn't know it was that bad. But I know you told me that it could get that bad. But again, with COVID-19 and the financial crisis that we're in, it changed everything.
I spoke to a player, and he said the following: I am proud of the BGSU alumni baseball people to bring back the program, but at the same time, the university still cut our program. In his decision-making process of, okay, do I stay or do I go? What would you say to that player, and what level of confidence do you have that this is sustainable, and after a first 3-year period, we're back to where we were May 15th?
It's a great question and a fair question from that young man. And, we are committed. The university didn't have to reverse this, and we had to find the alumni leadership. And I do think it's sustainable. We need to do a great job of keeping them engaged, keep them, and that's from top to bottom, from the administration to student athletes. And we ask our student athletes to communicate with alumni of the program, to send thank you notes. So it's a total team effort here. And with that commitment, I think we can sustain it. Yes, we had to make a difficult decision, but we are here to support the student athlete. And our decision to honor their scholarship through this process was, another way of us showing that we are here to support the student athlete. It was unfortunate that we had to make the decision to discontinue the program. But, we are recommitted to the program with some great support from the alumni and with the enthusiasm, the momentum that they have generated over the last 2 weeks. We feel like this program can continue to survive and thrive as well.
Is there anything over the last few weeks, looking back on it, that you would change? Is there anything you could have or would have done differently if you could have?
Sure, there's a lot of things that I'd probably go back and change. When I started 4 years ago, I've continued to ask people to give. People always ask, what makes up most of your day, and the outreach to alumni needs to be a higher emphasis each and every day. Obviously, there's been a lot through the 4 years that I've been here, and we need to continue getting better as a department, better as a university, reaching our alumni. And that is something that we work on each and every day, and we will continue asking people for help, and hopefully they respond and are inspired by this type of effort. So that's probably the biggest thing. Always I'm critiquing myself and what I do and my actions, but that's the biggest thing, is that we need to inspire our alumni base to give back, and this circumstance was not the circumstance that I wanted to inspire them, and I don't want that for any other program as well. So how do we take this lesson learned and move it forward, and ask all of our alumni to give back and make sure that we don't ever have to go through this ever again.
Bob, it's no secret that Danny was pretty bitter and upset, frustrated with the lack of time that he had to prepare to tell his players that the program was going to be cut. You mentioned that you spoke with him this morning. You're going to speak with him again this afternoon. But how can that relationship be repaired, improved, enhanced? And do you see that being an issue in the coming weeks?
I don't think so. I mean, obviously, these are difficult decisions, and if my wife and I were talking about it, and this is a personal story, but she was caught off guard one day. She was called into the office and was let go. You're not prepared for that, and I expect Danny to be prepared for that. Obviously, it was eliminating a program. It wasn't firing him. And any coach that any personnel decision, I don't think anybody is fully prepared for that situation. And so, my wife and I talked about it, and are there signs? Are there things that we discussed that, looking back, I know, Danny, used the word blindsided, but we've had these conversations in head coaches meetings. Coaches have flat out asked, "Are you considering dropping a sport?" And again, while the answer is I'm not considering it, you have to understand this is Division I college athletics, and read any stories about where athletics, the funding comes from, certainly at the MAC level, and you've seen it across the country with some other universities besides us over the recent weeks, and understand where we are, and understand, that these things can happen, and that's just having your antennas up and understanding the world that we live in. And, are those things that, Danny and I could discuss one-on-one? Yeah, absolutely, for sure. But I don't think it will hinder our relationship.
Any more questions? I think.
Oh no, hey Bob, this is Dave Briggs.
No camera, Dave Briggs. Let's go.
I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out this app. Where's the Zoom? No, just getting back to and obviously very good news. But when you mentioned you don't want to bring the program just to bring the program back, and it's not just meet the minimum, it's more than that. What if you are going to just get back to the budget you had before when things were, just kind of going along? What makes you think, what's the hope that it can be different this time and maybe even flourish in the future? What are some of those kind of conversations of things that can be done to kind of get BG baseball back to a place where y'all want it to be?
Yeah, those conversations are still early in the process, but talking to the alumni that have reached out and asked questions, I think they understand better, the financial challenges that we have and their commitment to help us with those challenges. Again, I'm not saying money means wins, and we've talked about that. Every one of our sports does more with less, and we have a bunch of coaches that will go and fight their tails off for their student athletes. And as student athletes, they understand that they're not coming to Bowling Green State University for the best facilities or the best of everything. These are blue collar. We're going to have to roll up our sleeves and go get after it. And with the financial support of the alumni and the commitment that these alumni have made, we're going to continue to build this program. Are there going to be bumps in the road? 100%, and we know that. But we're not going to be shy about that. We're going to attack it.
Absolutely. And this is kind of a strange question, but since it's going to be entirely funded outside the athletic department, will the alumni, or I guess the captains of the fundraising group, have some sort of different say in how the program is run, or is it going to be is this entirely under the BGSU athletic department wing?
Yeah, I mean, NCAA rules say it's entirely under the BGSU wing, and that's what we'll continue to work under that. Obviously we're partners in this program, so but they know when we've had conversations about some of their thoughts, and I said, well, that's not for you to decide.
Sure.
However, our doors have always been open. They want to discuss things that are going on. They have ideas. We're welcome to that. And if they have the passion and they want to get behind the program, we're gonna use their professional talents the best that we can.
Are we good? Sounds like we're about done here. So Bob, thank you for the time, and I want to thank everybody else for jumping on today, and appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Thanks, Bob.
I obviously I've been tied up with a lot of baseball talk, but what's going on in the world today, we all need to work with one another, not just the baseball alumni bringing back baseball. We all need to work together. I know one of our student athletes, Evan Brown, who used to play baseball and now on the football team here, had some great words to say, and we need to continue as a society to work together, to understand our differences, and embrace those differences. And we're having a session with our student athletes this afternoon, and we are committed to making sure that we become better. So sorry to add that in at the last moment there, but I think it's an important thing to say during these times. So